We can't do roofing jobs with no permit. Not just allowed to use any product on your home. We have to use a Florida product approved material. What's the square feet? How strong is it in a hurricane? What manufacturer am I getting the metal from? If we get caught doing a roof job with no permit, we're in big trouble. If you're in Florida and you're shopping for a roof, there's 3 reasons that makes Florida different for roofing than any other state in the country. And you should know these 3 things before you start looking for roofers. The first one by far is government regulation and inspections. I can't speak for all 50 states, but I can speak for a lot of states. And I know in a lot of states, for example, Pennsylvania, where I learned how to do roofing, where I grew up, you don't even need to pull permits for a roof. There are no roof permits. There are no inspections. There's no real supervision, making sure that we're adhering to building codes. We just sign a contract with a homeowner, send roofers to a house, they put the roof on, we get paid, we go home. In Florida, that is not the case at all. And especially the further south you get in the state of Florida, the more strict the building departments become, the more strict the building inspectors become. In Florida, in order to pull a roofing permit, which I'm holding in my hand, you need to be a licensed roofing contractor. In order to get a license, you got to buy these textbooks, you got to take these tests, you got to meet certain qualifications, and then Florida stamps your paperwork and said, you're now a state certified licensed roofing contractor. You have to renew it every 2 years, but we need to be licensed so that we can pull these permits because we can't do roofing jobs with no permit. If we get caught doing a roof job with no permit, we're in big trouble. First and foremost, it's government regulation and licensing. Once we get the license, we pull our permit. And what's the purpose of a permit? Every municipality, different cities, different counties have building departments. Depending on where the home we're working at is, we have to pull a permit with a certain building department. What's in the building permit? For roofing, it's going to have property details, and then it's basically going to map out how we're doing the roof job. What are we doing in certain areas? What material are we using? Is the material we're using approved in Florida as a Florida product approved material? So if I open this permit up, I've got a permit application. It states the property or the project value. I've got a permit application form. And now I've got this Form 300 roofing installation summary for a metal roof. So I'm giving them all the project details. What's the pitch of the roof? What's the square feet? What are the wind uplift pressures my roof system's going to meet? How strong is it in a hurricane? What kind of underlayment am I using? What manufacturer am I getting the metal from? And on and on and on. It just basically lists out all the specifics of this job. But then the point I wanted to touch on was the product approvals briefly. So in Florida, we're not just allowed to use any product on your home. We have to use a Florida product approved material. All the manufacturers of the products we're using go through strict testing in the state of Florida to make sure that the materials we're using are going to last in a hurricane, adhere to building codes, and be proper for your home. But not only that, when we're going through testing for different materials, what we're doing is we're testing installation methods, because inside these product approvals, not only is it going to say, yes, this metal panel is approved for Florida, it's also going to tell us how to install it. So if I flip to the installation instructions, it's going to show me things like how far the screws need to be spaced in the metal panel. It's going to tell me, do I need to use lap sealant where the panels come together? It's going to tell me what underlayment is approved underneath these metal panels. It's going to tell me what's the minimum slope I'm allowed to install this panel. So along with getting the products approved, it's also telling us how to install it. And that way, when the inspector comes and he does our in-progress inspections, he's going to pull out our permit paperwork. He's going to look at the installation instructions set forth by the manufacturer through their testing. He's going to get up on the roof and he's going to make sure we're doing exactly what it says to do on this paper. These are all details that people in other states, roofers in other states, don't have to worry about. And it makes roofing a little more complicated in Florida. I wouldn't exactly say harder, but it's a little more complicated. We need a little more coordination to get a roof project done. Because we have all these in-progress inspections, for example, today, we're tearing off this roof. We removed all the tile, we're going to remove the underlayment, and now we're going to inspect the wood decking underneath. And to comply with building code, we're going to re-nail all the plywood to the trusses. That's a step that they don't do in most states in the country. And that's because we have new building codes that tell us exactly how far the nails are supposed to be spaced on every sheet of plywood. So that's the first step of the process, is get the plywood exposed and then re-nail it to the trusses. And because we're complying with building code when we re-nail it to the trusses, we have an inspection inspection for that. So an inspector will actually get up there when we have all the plywood exposed, and he'll have a tape measure, and he'll make sure we're re-nailing the plywood at the correct spacing. After that, the next step is to install the underlayment, the new underlayment. Well, there's a product approval for underlayment, and the inspector's going to make sure that we installed the underlayment and match the installation instructions in our product approval. After that, we're going to install the metal panels. Again, I just went over that. The metal panels have a product approval with installation details. The inspector's going to come out, make sure our clip spacing's right, make sure we're using all the sealants we need to, and make sure everything's being installed the building code. Because of all those in-progress inspections, the jobs take a lot longer. So we can't just tear a roof off and put a roof back on in one day like you can in most other states. And because of that, in Florida, you won't see this everywhere else, but we have separate crews that will tear off the roof and install the underlayment. We'll get an inspection, we'll get materials delivered, and then another different crew will handle the install of the materials. I hated this when I first came to Florida, but I actually love it now because what it creates is an expertise and a speed in what these guys do every day. Because these guys behind me, this is a 20-man tear-off crew. Every single day, they tear off houses, they install underlayment, and then they move to the next house. They're not worried about installing the shingles, installing the tile, installing the metal. They just tear roofs off, dry them in, and move on. And because of that, this is the fastest tear-off crew I've ever seen in my life, and they're super neat. They work together like an army, and it works really well for us. But then we have a separate crew come in and install it. So in Florida, we have to deal with passing the job from crew to crew on one house, which adds some complexity. That's why I said you need some coordination. You need extra office organization to be able to schedule the inspections on time, pass your inspections, get materials delivered, get your new crew in there, and keep the project moving. So that's why in Florida, it's very common to see a roof dried in with underlayment and sit like that for months at a time. And you may have seen this in your neighborhood and be like, what the hell's going on with that roof job? Why has it been sitting like that? Well, chances are the roofing company's not very organized. They don't have their systems in place, and they're all over the place as far as like getting their materials there, passing inspections, whatever it may be. But if you can master passing the job from one expert crew to the next one on site, you can move very quickly. Your crews are experts in what they do, so they're super specialized. For example, so when our metal crew comes in here, all those guys do every day is install metal panels. So they're very fast, they're very clean, they know exactly what they're doing. They do the same thing with the same guys every single day. The second thing that makes roofing in Florida different is something called a wind mitigation inspection. What's a wind mitigation inspection? That is an inspection that your insurance company requires you to get on your house before they write your insurance policy. It's basically how they decide how hurricane-proof your house is based on inspecting your home. And obviously, when we're talking about hurricanes, the roof is a big part of how hurricane-proof your house is, but so are your windows, your doors, your garage door. There's some other things on there, but the roof is probably the most consequential item on that wind mitigation. And because we have insurance companies grading the hurricane proofness of our home, they're basically requiring a higher standard of roofing material and a higher standard of install on your roof so that you pay less for insurance. A big example of this is the underlayment we use. It's super common in Florida to see a self-adhered or peel and stick underlayment installed to the entire roof, whereas in most other parts of the country, this type of material is only installed on the bottoms of the roof and in the valleys. In Florida, you'll mainly see that installed to the whole roof. I'd say 80% of the roofs I see go on have it installed to the entire roof. And that's because you, the homeowner, get an insurance premium discount if we install a self-adhered underlayment to the entire roof. There's some other things on the wind mitigation inspection, like how your trusses are attached to the walls. That's what's going to protect your roof from getting ripped off the walls in a storm. That's a common upgrade that we add to our roofing projects if the current roof-to-wall attachment is too weak. So insurance companies affecting our scope of work and the way we do roofs is pretty unique to Florida. There may be other states that see this. I don't know about all 50 states, but I know in Florida it's a big part of every roof replacement job that we plan is wind mitigations and how is this going to affect your insurance. The final number 3 reason roofing is different in Florida is because of the variety of roof types we have. I grew up in Pennsylvania. 95% of the roof you'll see in Pennsylvania are shingle, and there's a lot of other states in the country that are similar to this. it's nothing but shingle. Here in Florida, we've got a lot of different roof types, and there's a lot of all of them. So you'll still see a lot of shingle. You're gonna see a lot of concrete tile. This is traditional South Florida Mediterranean style homes. So we've got countless HOAs and gated communities. We're here on a golf course. This is an example of that, where there's nothing but concrete tile. But metal is also exploding in Florida, and the reasons are obvious. We deal with hurricanes every single year. So why would the roofing material that has the highest wind ratings and is going to be the strongest in a hurricane, metal, not grow in popularity? And it is. The insurance companies like it. It's the most durable, the most hurricane proof. It's energy efficient. There's a million benefits and a million reasons to why metal is the best roofing system, and we're starting to see metal explode in Florida. So where in other states where there's just a lot of shingle and all the crews just tear off shingles and install shingle, in Florida we've got all these different roofing materials we install. We got stone-coated steel, cedar shake, shingle, tile, metal. So as roofing contractors, it's okay to specialize in one type, but you're gonna come across all different types of roofing materials, and you gotta have crews and the expertise in the office to be able to install them. So if you're in Florida and you're looking at a roof replacement and you have a roofer in front of you that's not going over all the different options and all the different roofing materials there are, I would definitely call other roofers out that will actually educate you on the different roof systems of what's going to be right for you. What's going to be right for your neighbor may not be right for you. There's a million different reasons you would need a roof replacement. You may be being proactive for storm season. Maybe you're just doing a full exterior remodeling and the roof is part of it. Maybe your insurance company's dropping you. You don't really want to put a roof on, but your insurance company says you need one and budget's a concern. There's a million different reasons you would need a roof, and there's going to be a right roofing material for you. It just depends on you, the customer, once you're educated by a guy like me. So as you can see, Florida is a whole different beast when it comes to roofing compared to the rest of the country. I remember when I first moved here and got going, I kind of didn't like all the things I'm explaining to you in this video because it was new, it was different. I didn't know much about it. I didn't know anything about tile roofing. I never had to deal with roof inspections. Taking the test for the license was kind of a pain in the ass. I didn't understand. I kind of complained about it a lot. But now 8 years in, I actually love it because like I said, it's harder to run a smooth operation with all these extra pieces. And because it's harder, it's easier to stand out against the competition because the example I gave earlier of being in a neighborhood where there's a lot of roofs getting done, it's really easy for the homeowners in that neighborhood to know who the good roofer is just by the simple fact of, hey, Sally down the street had a roof sitting in underlayment for 6 months before the roof was finished. And then those guys, FoxHaven, came in and finished their neighbor's roof in 3 days. I'm calling them. I don't want to use who Sally used. So the extra complexity just makes it easier to stand out in the roofing industry in Florida. And then for you, the homeowner, all these things are meant to protect you. Roofing's a shady business. There's a lot of bad actors in roofing. So the more regulation and oversight that the government can put on the roofing industry to protect you, the homeowner, to make sure that things are done right on your home. You're spending tens of thousands of dollars on your roof. It's nice to have like an extra buddy overseeing the project to make sure it goes well. I will add an extra caveat that all inspectors aren't good inspectors. So yes, they're supposed to come out and look at this paperwork and look at our work and give us the go-ahead. But we've had drive-by inspections where the inspector will just pull up, kind of look around, give us a thumbs up and drive away. So I will say that all inspectors don't do their job how they're supposed to do. But overall, all the regulation, all the systems in place in Florida are meant to protect you, the homeowner, and make sure your money doesn't go to waste and make sure that your contractors are doing a good job.